What is chess? Chess is a board game where you try to trap your opponent's king.
In chess, there are 6 pieces: 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, a queen, and lastly a king. There's also pawns, but Juan forgot to put it in the script.
The pawn can move 1 space every turn, and 2 spaces on its first turn. When a piece is diagonally in front of the pawn is able to take. If another pawn moves right next to your pawn the turn before, you can do a move called en passant, where you jump over the other pawn and take it. The other pieces are much easier to explain. The rook moves vertically and horizontally on the board. The bishop moves diagonally, and the queen does both of those. The king has the same movements as the queen, but can only move 1 space. Okay, great. Now you know how to play the game. But before we can dive into the frontiers of chess, you need to know where it came from. Chess came from 6th century India, where the game didn't really look like this. There, much better. This is what chess looked like in 6th century India before it was revolutionized by the Europeans. There's also a piece called the knight, aka the horsey, and every move he takes is a L, so his life is pretty sad. Now that you've learned the game of chess and you know where it comes from, we can learn about the frontiers who have shaped this great game.
The first person we're going to talk about is Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen is the current world chess champion. To many people, he's the best to ever play the game, although Grandmasters Gary Kasparov and Bobby Fischer remain in the conversation. At any rate, the clear and remarkable point is that before turning 30 years old, Carlsen has already earned a spot at the top. It's easy to see why. The 13-year-old Norwegian prodigy drew Kasparov and defeated Grandmaster Anatoly Karpov at the same event in 2004, 1 month before he became the second youngest Grandmaster in history. Magnus Carlsen's memorization of various Masters games, his ability to maintain focus and concentration for long stretches at a time, and his fierce desire to win are all elements that make him good at chess. Having started at a young age and having several years of top competition helps hone his skills. I'd say Magnus Carlsen improved chess by inspiring chess players to work harder and become better than they were before and bringing new players into the game.
The next person we will be talking about is Hikaru Nakamura, the second person in this picture. Hikaru is a grandmaster and the top blitz chess player on chess.com. Also for standard chess, Hikaru is ranked number 5 in the world. Now, Hikaru is a good player, but his influence on the game was more towards increasing its popularity than his actual skill. Hikaru is a streamer on Twitch, where his charismatic personality and his excellent chess playing had him rise to the top of the Twitch leaderboards. This also boosted chess into the top 10 games played on Twitch. With the sudden rise of popularity in chess, other popular streamers also decided to play the game and made a tournament called PogChamp. Before PogChamp started, Hikaru Nakamura helped the other Twitch streamers prepare for the tournament. With other streamers deciding to play this game, it boosted the popularity of chess even more. In current day, chess is one of the most popular games, being played 2 times more than soccer. The reason why I believe Hikaru Nakamura is a frontier of chess is because he made the game more popular than it already was.
Robert James Fischer is the first and only American world chess champion in history, and many consider him to be one of the greatest chess players in history. His success in chess tournaments and against the Russian chess empire in the 1960s and 1970s sparked entire generations of chess players, especially in the United States and Iceland. Robert James Fischer was born in Chicago, Illinois on March 9, 1943. When he was 6 years old, his parents moved to New York City, where Fischer started playing competitive games at the Brooklyn and Hawthorne chess clubs. In 1956, Fischer won the U.S. Junior Chess Championship and became the youngest player at the time to win the tournament. The tournament win earned him a spot in the U.S. Chess Championship in 1957. Prior to the championship in 1957, Fischer had also won the U.S. Open Championship, becoming the youngest to ever win that tournament, and also, after winning the New Jersey Open Championship, Fischer became the youngest natural master in American history. Near the end of 1956, Fischer played one of his most famous chess games of all time, known today as the Game of the Century. This game was played at the Rosenwald Memorial Tournament at the Marshall Chess Club. Robert James Fischer played this game when he was just 14 years old. At 14 years old, Fischer played in his first U.S. Chess Championship. Pitted against the country's best, Fischer won the tournament and became the youngest U.S. champion and international master. He would go on to win 7 consecutive titles, and after winning a round trip to Russia in order to appear on a game show, Fischer played some matches in Yugoslavia to prepare for the 1958 Interzone. In finishing in the top 6, Fischer qualified for the Candidates Tournament, becoming the youngest player at 15 to reach the stage of the World Championship cycle. Qualifying for the Candidates Tournament also earned him the Grandmaster title. He would be the youngest to earn this title until Judith Polgar in 1991. Fischer finished 5th in the Candidates Tournament, and soon he dropped out of high school to devote more time to chess. In 1962, Fischer became the first non-Soviet player to ever win an Interzone championship and qualified for the Candidates Tournament later that year. Fischer also won the 1963-1964 U.S. Championship with an 11 out of 11 score, the only perfect score in the history of that tournament. Fischer had also won the 1966-1967 U.S. Championship, but took a break in 1968 to write his book called My 60 Memorable Games, which is considered as one of the best chess books of all time. In 1970, Fischer made his return to chess, and after closing with a 7-game winning streak, won the Interzone tournaments by 3.5 margin. The tournament win meant Fischer qualified for the 1971 Candidates Tournament. Fischer beat Mark Taimanov at a 6-0 score in the quarterfinals, and then repeated the score against Bent Larsen in the semifinals. This 12-game stretch is considered by many to be one of the best individual performances by a chess player ever. In 1972, Fischer played world champion Boris Spassky in a match publicized by the Cold War, which caused it to gain more worldwide interest than any chess championship before or since. Fischer eventually defeated Spassky by a score of 12.5 to 8.5. I believe that Bobby Fischer was a frontier of chess because he sparked an entire generation of players and is considered as being one of the greatest chess players of all time. He is also the only American world chess champion and is known for many chess games.
We have just talked about 3 frontiers of chess: Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nagamura, and Robert James Fischer. Now, all 3 of these people share a similar role as frontiers. They all inspire people to play chess and get better. Yet, even though they all inspire people, they did it in their own ways. Magnus Carlsen, by just completely dominating everybody, Hikaru with streaming, and Bobby Fischer with overtaking the Russians in the chess empire. This is the conclusion of our NHD project. I'm also going to put my sources on the screen, but it's mostly just going to be chess.com because they have a lot of stuff. And thank you for listening to our presentation.